Get Warrior Tough. Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman on 105.5 The Roar. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
All right. Back in the saddle. Doing our best to stamp out mediocrity in sports, in business, in life. All right, buddy. We're back. Hey, you know, we haven't really talked about this because of the Thanksgiving weekend and all, but we did have our CEO of You seminar in Greenville right before Thanksgiving, so it was 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. We had like about 32 people in the room. I think there was 32 total after, everybody got in there. It was a great time. Now, we were missing you, Dutch. But I was playing, your voice in the room. I was playing one of our YouTube videos, a segment. People were like looking around, is Dutch here? Is Dutch here? And we got a bunch of, course evals at the end. We asked for feedback. And on a bunch of them, they were like, well, I want the other instructor. Where's the other instructor? So you were wanted in the room, man.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate the love and the support that I've always received from those folks in the area. And I'm looking forward to being engaged with programs like CEO of You as we expand our offerings to the area. And I look forward to people jumping on board and getting some of the stuff that we have to offer.
Yeah, and it was a great time. And I just want to I want to read a couple of these sheets, the feedback that we're getting. And so here's one is, would you recommend this conference to others? Was one of the questions they asked. Is, yes, this transforms your thinking and your viewpoint by exposing what you already know internally, and it teaches you how to discern between truth and fact. And then that's one of the things that you always say, this stuff that you already know this internally, but it gives you a way to identify it, to label it, to repeat it, to now you know what's going on. And they are things that you've already known. You just haven't probably been putting your finger on it.
Yeah, and the other thing, I always say that there are people who fight it like they already know it.
Yeah.
They try to minimize it. Well, I already knew that. Well, how come you haven't done it? Right. Because that's the key. Doing is the key. Knowing is nothing. I can say I knew something after you said it.
Yeah.
I can always say that. But the proof is in the doing. The proof is not in the knowing.
Right. What's your results? Yeah. What's your results?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the key. That's the next step. Everyone knows. So that's just funny to me. I always say knowing the word isn't as much as doing the word.
Right. And so here's another that says that this was thought-provoking, challenging, and life-changing information. I love the differences in mindset and levels of thinking. It helped me identify my emotional drivers by writing down levels of dissatisfaction. That's one of the pieces in the course. And the section on stress control was just awesome. So, because that's one whole, the last piece that we do. Now, listen, this is up on the web at getwarriortough.com. You could go get the CEO of You audio in the workbook. You could download it right there at your laptop, on your phone, whatever. It's a great Christmas present for yourself or to somebody else that's looking to get control of their life and themselves, and also then to push their airspace out, get control of relationships, a job, a career. Dutch, I just want to play this for you. This was a couple of the folks that they just talked about the seminar, and so here, let's listen.
Today was phenomenal. CEO of You was just amazing. The class was especially relevant for me. I'm 29 years old, two kids at home, married, and just kind of feel stuck in my current situation. I've been in the industry for 5 years, so today was just perfect for me. And I think no matter what phase of life you're in, the content is just incredibly relevant. Andrew challenges you in your way of thinking, and even though you may or may not have heard some of this stuff before, it's a good challenge to really break down a lot of old ways of thinking and just kind of what we default to day in and day out. So I would definitely recommend the course. It was phenomenal,
this is kind of
it'll
like
change
a
your
bridge.
life.
So, all of the years doing corporate training and things like that, what this taught was the discipline to apply a lot of the training that I've had along the way. So it's a mindset. It's creating the right habits and then executing that, and to try to get to a better level than I was yesterday. I enjoyed the data. I'm a data-driven person, so the fact that science supports a lot of what we talked about today was really cool, and the data substantiation means something to me, and so I like that.
Great. How are you going to follow up?
All right, so my next step is to sign up for the phalanx. If I said that correctly, I'm not sure if I did. So I'm going to definitely sign up for that, and I'm just going to continue to walk the path. I'm going to continue to look at the vision statement, continue to go through the life on all 8 cylinders, and try to get some definition to all those categories, all those areas of life, and again, just try to get better. Better one step at a time, better tomorrow than I was yesterday.
All right. That was a couple of the participants in the CEO of You seminar. What'd you think, Dutch?
Good stuff. I first and foremost, I appreciate those folks investing in themselves. I think that's the first step, is identifying that. I always said, and I said it on our coaching call, you're the MVP. You're the most valuable player. You're the person that you have to support. You're the person on your team that you have to take care of first. You're that central figure on your team that you have to provide the necessary resources to be great. So if you look at it like that, you step back away from yourself and you say, that's my guy. That's my guy that I got to take care of, that I got to support, that I got to provide the necessary tools for that person to be successful. So you literally have to step away from yourself to identify what's important to you. So you're looking at yourself, and it's not looking in the mirror. I don't want to look in the mirror. I want to step completely outside of myself and look at that guy right there is the guy. That's the guy. And then the first thing you do is you invest in that guy. So when you do things like the CEO of You and you do the phalanx, you're investing in that guy to make that guy better, because you're trying to give that guy all the resources, all the tools, all the support that guy needs to be great. And so these people have identified, at the very least, that this is the first step, that you need to invest in yourself, support yourself towards becoming greater.
Absolutely. And we did our first phalanx call last night. It was the inaugural call. We kicked it off this week. It was a great time, and we got to dig into some, the process, and when people have to answer their questions, and they have interaction with you and I, and we can give them. And I got to say, you're awesome, because you're much nicer than I am, and you say things in a nicer way. But it is a good balance. My wife says that you and I are a great balance. When we're doing the coaching, because we kind of give the two boundaries of, and then people can be in the middle. And so, but it was a great call last night. It was a first step. It's just like you said, the CEO of You, that's a first step. You invest in that, and then you join the phalanx. That's the next step. But it is a process. No one became Tom Brady and Deshaun Watson. I even said this in the CEO of You. When Deshaun Watson first put pads on, in Pop Warner Little League, he wasn't Deshaun Watson that we see him now. There was a process for him to go to, and he's getting better every week. He's not done yet, And
he's not going to be done anytime soon. So when people look at something like the phalanx, and let's say at the end of 13 weeks, you get a promotion. Well, that's like saying at the end of the season, Deshaun Watson gets the Player of the Year trophy, and then he stops. He's there. No, he hasn't arrived. He's continuing to work. So at the end of the phalanx, that's just one checkpoint.
Right.
You continue to work.
You do continue, and that's why the phalanx is rolling. It keeps going. We will not stop. We have, like I said last night on the call, I've got more time. I have more content, more material than I have time on planet Earth to give it to you. So it just keeps rolling. So listen, if you weren't on the call last night, just jump in. You can jump in and jump out at any time that whatever section you are in your life, wherever you are, different stages of life. This is rolling. You don't have to feel like, well, I'm not on the call. No, you should be a part. Go to the GetWarriorTough.com website, go to Next Steps, and join at any time. You just jump right in. But the longer you wait, the longer it'll take for you to get up to speed. If you want to make changes in your life, you got to do it now, because there's no instant pill, Dutch. There's no silver bullet. It is a process.
And I think we all reach that point where we decide we have to do something at different times. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna lie, I'm not gonna pressure anyone out there to do anything. But what I will pressure you to do, that if you start, not to stop, because this is a lifelong process. So if you decide to join the phalanx, you decide to come in and come in our community, our network, that you never stop. Because once you realize that this is a lifelong process, there is no end date. There is no end game, because even at the end of the day, at the end of your day, it's not over, because you still have family, you still have friends,
Right.
so you have generations coming behind you that you need to have influenced during this process. So it's a constant process that needs to continue even after your last day.
Right, and I think you could see that. We were talking about the quarterbacks and stuff before. I mean, Tom Brady still hasn't stopped. They say he's old, whatever. He's looking better now, physically, mentally sharper. You know, and I kind of said this before in the past, that when I went back to, you know, when I went into, you know, consulting for the State Department and went into high-threat diplomatic missions and stuff, in my 40s, I was actually better and sharper, had more, you know, better judgment, and I had not lost a step. I was actually stronger and faster than I was in my 20s. So it doesn't say, it's a continual process, and if you're not growing, like we always say, you're dying, you know, and that's, so are you growing or dying? And this is a great place to grow.
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to touch on was was it the gentleman that spoke about the data supporting?
Yeah.
Science supporting?
Yeah.
You know, that is so important, because this is less about what we think and more about what we think and what we know. So when you combine what we think and what we know, because it starts out with what you think, and a lot of people end it there. They leave it at what they think. But what we do is we turn it into what we know as well. So we search for information and data and research to support what we think, and then it becomes what we know. So we don't stop at what we think. What we think is dangerous.
Yeah.
It needs to turn into what we know at some point. But a lot of the organizations and groups like ours stop at what they think and what they believe instead of what they know. And the data, the facts, the research, that is the icing on the cake.
Right, and that's the sweet spot. I've talked about this before, and that's the language we use in the Warrior Tough culture here, is that the difference between facts and truth. You know, and facts are what they are, and then truth is your perception of the facts. And the sweet spot is when you get your truth to match up with the facts. That's the sweet spot. When facts and truth, like you said, what we think and what we know, what my perception is of the facts and the facts, they line up, and then I have a serious leverageable tool to rocket my success, to rocket my performance, and to take things to the next level. And when you understand how your body and your brain and your emotions and your mind all work together, that's the biopsychology of it and the cognitive neuroscience. When we take that science and then we match it up with the truths of stuff that's been going on for, you know, these truths that have been around for 2,000 years, 3,000 years in the warrior culture, in philosophy, in religious writings, I mean, the stuff that's been discovered about how we operate as human beings, and then you marry that up with science and the warrior culture and your athletic background. It's something completely amazing that you cannot explain. You can only experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you got to be willing to go through it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that doesn't have a cost, because anything worth having has a cost. But I think if you're willing to pay that cost, the rewards are immeasurable.
Huge. And now it's not just financial cost. When you hear that, I know when you hear Dutch say that, you think financial cost. No, it's going to cost you, mediocrity. It's going to cost you regrets. Because you won't pay the price of regrets later if you pay the cost now of doing the work and growing. See, I don't want to get to the end of my life, Dutch, and I'm old enough now where I have some regrets, where there's some stuff I was like, man, I wish I had taken that opportunity. About the time I was about 35, I decided I would never do that again. And so I jump out and I'll take risks that other people think that are nuts, but then they look at my life and they go, wow, you've had a really great life. Yep.
Amen.
All right, buddy, we got to take a break and we'll be right back.